It's like Adam Sandler watched Rocky and then Warrior, and Ben Affleck's The Way Back, went to Happy Madison Productions and said,
"This is me. This is how I win."
What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. Hustle drops on Netflix this week. I was able to see it on the big screen yesterday, and I am super excited to talk about it. It's a Happy Madison production starring Adam Sandler, but it's taking a serious turn with a lot of NBA isms and cameos. But is the movie good? Let's talk about it. After discovering a once-in-a-lifetime player with a rocky past abroad, that's a Rocky pun, a down-on-his-luck basketball scout played by Sandler takes it upon himself to bring the phenom star to the States without his team's approval. Against the odds, they have one final shot to prove that they have what it takes to make it to the NBA. So we have writers that I just didn't know about, right? Will Fetters, who did A Star is Born, yes, but Remember Me, no. Director Jeremiah Zagar, who brought us We the Animals, which was a very well-received film via critics, but also Adam Sandler as a co-writer, producer, a lot of really notable producers on this movie, LeBron James being one of them, of course, because the NBA, they are all over this movie, man. Cameos, Easter eggs, people playing themselves, but also basketball players playing new characters. One of our antagonist-ish players coming out of college is actually played by Anthony Edwards. But then you have NBA players playing themselves, like a Tyrese Maxey. And of course, the big stars, like a Queen Latifah, Jaleel White, Robert Duvall, Ben Foster, Adam Sandler, and newcomer, I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Juancho Hernan Gomez playing Bo Cruz, who is this talented specimen that Sandler's character discovers. And being a scout for the 76ers, he prides himself on finding the best players he can find, discovering the talent that no one else knows about. Before we get into anything else, I want to talk about the rating of this film. And it is actually rated R. Nothing beyond language. It is solely due to strong language, and I guess one or two thematic elements. But for the most part, even though it is R-rated, I do believe this is one that more than just your standard R-rated crowd could enjoy. Not the kids, but you know what I mean. Regardless, this is a movie where you look at Adam Sandler and you ask the question, is he going to take himself more seriously, still bring the humor? Is he going to go overboard with the humor? And you just don't know, mostly because that Happy Madison banner plays before the film. That is the production company behind this movie, along with Netflix, of course, but I just didn't know the direction it would go. Recently, Adam Sandler has been on fire, right? Uncut Gems, The Merowitz Stories, two movies that were showcasing his talents. I mean, he was in top form in both of those films. And I believe he carries that into Hustle and not only delivers in this movie, he is in the conversation of the best he's ever been. I'm not going to put this performance over Uncut Gems, right? But he has a passion for basketball. That's clear. That's evident. He plays basketball in real life. He loves everything about the sport beyond just this film, right? But he carries that into this movie, and his passion for the game, and you see it in the trailer, that monologue that he's giving Bo, he's saying, do you love this game? I want to see and feel that you love this game as much as I love this game, and that needs to come across on the court, because where he finds this player, not only on the other side of the world, but Bo Cruz is in a place mentally where he's just kind of going through the motions. He has this immense level of talent, but he's not putting it to good use. And even though this is a fictional tale, you can see shades of, these success stories that we've seen so many times in the NBA, whether it's someone coming in and trying out or going to the combine and making themselves known there. There's a lot of truth in this film, shades of things that have happened to other athletes. So that's really cool to see. But it's also this Rocky-esque, I guess, just as much Warrior-esque story. And it's funny because Warrior is a masterpiece of a movie, but you have all of those recognizable real-life faces in that film, and they're making themselves an extremely prominent part of the third act of that movie. Imagine that, but in NBA form. So you have Kenny the Jet Smith, and we'll cut to Shaq and Charles Barkley, and I don't want to spoil all of the stars that are in there. But if you can think of them, they're probably in this movie. So you're going to get those moments where if you're a fan of basketball, if you're not, then you don't care about this part, right? But as someone who, loves college basketball, I watch the NBA, especially right now, avidly. So seeing those faces and the fact that they did not make some of these stars do so much to where you could tell that they weren't actors, they were just themselves. And for the most part, maybe one or two lines in there is like, they didn't really deliver that like they should have. But for the most part, they fit seamlessly into this fake story, but it feels so real. I made the Rocky comparison. There's literally not one montage, but a few montages, maybe one too many. And that brings me to my biggest criticism with Hustle is the fact that it is a cliche-filled film. You know exactly where it's going. There are actually a couple of nice twists in the third act that I appreciated. Some moments where you're about to hit, what would feel like this wall of, we've been here before, we've done this, we've been on this trajectory. But then they kind of switch it up, which I truly appreciated. But familiarity is not bad if the execution is there. And I truly believe this film is properly executed. It's really well directed. There is way more style in this movie than I ever imagined, and the dialogue, the intimate and emotional scenes between our two main characters, Cruz and Stanley Sugarman, Stanley finding this person, believing in him, and that, not coming across like it should at first, but they form this bond, this relationship that I was all there for. And I didn't know if that was going to be the case at the beginning. But the more I got invested into the story and loving the sport, as a lot of these characters do in this movie, as familiar as it all was, and again, that trajectory, I said Rocky, I said Warrior, all of those things, the way back with Ben Affleck, very different type of story, but similarities there. You have a lot of those elements here, but they feel fresh because it's just that kind of stylistic film. And the way it plays out focuses on that dynamic and relationship, but it's not just our main character going through a hard time. Everyone is going through something in this movie that they have to overcome or inevitably find themselves. And the way these characters were so intimately written, and then Stanley's home life, I thought Queen Latifah was great. She was a great support system in this film. And his daughter, and Beau's family life, and what that means to him. Those heartfelt moments between our main characters, and you will be laughing, you'll be giggling, but it's not obnoxious humor. It's natural, it's real, and every time we get those stakes, you feel them, and it carried throughout the entire film. My other big criticism is that there's a moment from the second act going into the third act where something needs to happen for one of our characters, and it just feels impossible at that point until it doesn't. All I will say is it involves the internet and how things can go viral, but that element of the third act felt too easy for me. I'm like, I don't know if that's actually, it felt like an easy segue from one scene, we have to get to this next scene, how do we get there, to the next, and that was that. And I'm like, oh man, you had me, I was gripped, I was so on board up until that moment. Now, 5 minutes later, it's fine, we're playing basketball again, you care once again, but getting us from one point to the next, I really struggled with the believability of that, so I thought the writing was lackluster in that moment. My final positive is actually having people who can play basketball. And I'm not saying actors can't do basketball scenes. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to get someone who at least knows how to make dribbling and shooting look realistic. Who better to get than actual basketball players? And no, they're not the best actors, but when they're doing what they're really good at, it's super convincing. I am not trying to call out other movies that have basketball scenes that look terrible and really fake because I know the sport of basketball, but that's exactly what I'm doing. And if you've ever seen basketball being played, some of these films, they make there are no fundamentals, but in this movie, they have basketball players. If you are here and you like this review, if you like Adam Sandler, drop a like down below. It helps the channel, it helps the video, and be sure to leave your thoughts. What is your favorite Adam Sandler performance to date? Formulaic isn't bad if the execution is solid, and Hustle nails it. This sports drama provides heart and an emotional story. It features compelling characters and fun NBA cameos, but Sandler steals the show. He is brilliant here, and his love for basketball is evident. He carries that emotion through and through. I felt every moment with him. He never overplayed it. He never overdid it. I'm not saying he should get awards consideration, but as of now, at this point in the year, he's in my top 10 favorite performances. Top 5. I'm going an 84% with this film. I thought the film itself, while familiar and formulaic, it did exactly what it needed to do. Sometimes that's all you need movies to do. Sandler's performance is great. I want to see it again. This is one of those that could go further. Listen, it sounds ridiculous. I know, but I'm a fan of basketball. You have all of the makings for me to enjoy it. But the question is, are you going to enjoy it if you're not as big of a fan of the sport? All right, guys, I'm done talking. See you soon.